Hello, listeners. This is Amogate Radio Communications. Welcome to yet another informative episode of our program, Talent Attraction and Retention Strategies. I remain your host, Titilola Ogushono. One of the strategies that can be deployed in attractive top talent to an organization mentioned in our previous episode is a strong employer brand. We have established the need and the strategies that can help to build a strong employer brand. Today, we are delving further to discussing the role of leadership in building a strong employer brand. The quality of leadership an organization has plays a crucial role in building and maintaining a strong employer brand. Leadership dictates and shapes the right cultural practices in an organization. That's why I keep advocating that your leaders in an organization must lead with culture that determine the cultural practices that will be entrenched in an organization. And mind you, this is very important in building your employer brand as an organization. For every employer brand strategy, initiative, program to be successful, to achieve said brand enhancing objectives, the strength or the quality of leadership matters a lot. In reality, there's a great difference between perception and reality. Perception about what your brand is would attract talent to your organization. However, I will take it again. However, reality about the quality of leaders that you have in terms of their leadership style, work environment, developmental programs, motivational issues in your organization will determine if you can retain these talents or not. Thus, it becomes imperative for every organization as one of the drivers of attracting and retaining talent to ensure that your leaders are well equipped in terms of knowledge, skills, expertise, and experience to lead and motivate talent to discover themselves. That is the first step. When talent come into your organization, do you, as a leader, have what it takes to enable them discover themselves? Because we have what we call known competencies. There are some competencies that I know as an individual that I have, but do you have the right environment for them to even discover their unknown competencies? There are some competencies I have as an individual that I don't even know. So you must provide the right leadership direction so that you can even discover these talents, these hidden competencies in your talent. When you discover this, then you can grow these competencies in your people, and when you grow them, then you can then optimize individual potentials in your organization. If an organization has this kind of leadership style, permeating through the organization, then a lot can be achieved. Brett Mitchington, Chairman and CEO of Employer Brand International, said, and I quote, "The biggest influence on an employer branding program is the strength of leadership behind the strategy." Thus, it implies that irrespective of the various employer branding programs, strategies, or initiatives that are deployed in an organization, the strength of leadership will determine its success. On this note, let's consider the various ways that strong leadership would enhance an employer brand. First role leadership plays is that it helps to build and encourage collaborations among various stakeholders. You have your internal stakeholders, your employees, your management, you have your external stakeholders, your customers, your suppliers, government agencies, the community, your host community where your organization is situated in terms of structures being situated. Now, leadership helps to bring collaborations among the stakeholders. Now, but the starting point, the most important thing is that you must ensure that whatever employer brand initiatives that you are deploying, you must get the buy-in of your leaders. It's important. I've seen instances where top executives will come up with employer brand initiative without any input from other leadership positions. You have top executives, you have senior level management, you have middle level management, we have even entry level management, you have the team leads. When you are talking about employer brand initiatives, you must get their buy-in. It's important that you involve them in these employer brand initiative strategies. You must get their input so that they feel that they're part of it. You can get them to own these brand initiatives, because if they don't own it, how do they want to sell this, pass this message across to every member of your team? How? I remember a particular time when I had this consulting project. The CEO invited us to come in. We had to look at the vision statement. We had to look at the employer brand initiatives. We had to look at the processes, the policies. But interestingly, because the style we have is that everyone must be involved. So what we did was to look at senior level management, and we called everybody together. It was interesting that during the strategy session, we realized that the CEO and the chief operating officer were not on the same page. The employer brand initiative was thinking about was that what was crucial to him was I wanted an innovative environment. What was important to him was that he wanted an environment where they were operating at the peak of excellence in terms of operational. Consult your leaders before coming up with your brand initiatives or strategies or programs. It's important. I recall a particular scenario when I had to work on a consulting project. The CEO called us in to look at the organizational structure, to review his processes, to review his policies, and we were looking at the employer brand initiatives together. So when we got there, our usual style is that you are going to get leaders, the CFO involved, you have to get the COO involved, you have to get the head of strategy unit involved, divisional heads involved. And one of these strategy sessions, we realized that the COO, the chief operating officer, and the CEO were not on the same page. They wanted different things. So what we did was to hear his view and find a way to inculcate some of his suggestions. And when we could do that, we got his buy-in immediately. So it's important. Most times, our top executives will come up with initiatives without consulting your people. How do you want them to feel that they're part of that process? Remember, it speaks to your brand as an employer. So when leaders are not involved in this process, what you are telling other talents is that even when you strive to become leaders, you are not going to have a voice in the organization. So it's important to build and encourage collaborations among all stakeholders in organizations that will be involved in deploying your employer brand initiatives. You must get the buy-in of your leaders. You must get the commitment of your leaders. You must get them to the point where they are engaged, and they can only be engaged if you have given them the opportunity to be a part of that process. So that's the first step. That's the first role they play. They build and encourage collaborations among stakeholders if you get your strategy right by involving leaders. Okay? Now let's look at the second role they play. Leadership dictates the pace and shapes the culture of organization. I keep saying that the role of a leader is your ability to influence your people. A leader shapes the culture of organization through his or her actions, leadership style, and even tone of communication. Now, if an organization claims to uphold with self-esteem, respect as one of its core values, but on the contrary, most leaders in the organization do not respect their team members. What you are communicating to your team members is when you also become leaders, you don't have to respect your members. What you are communicating to them is that it's acceptable for them to be rude, it's acceptable for them to trample on one another's self-esteem. That's what you are communicating. So it's important that a leader must lead by example. Like I said, no matter the employer brand initiatives that you deploy, no matter what you write on your website as what your employer brand is, the perception of people around you, is it actually your reality? What is obtainable? What is operational in your organization? Is it the same as what is written in your employer brand statement, your employer value proposition? You talk about innovation. Are you actually creating an environment where they're innovative? You talk about work-life balance, for instance, and somebody needs flexibility for a short period of time. Are you flexible in your ways as a leader? Now, I keep saying something to leaders, that rules were made for the people, not the people for the rules. Okay, so that's why I say that we do not hire dummies when we put them in leadership positions. Yes, there are rules around it, but also when your team members also need that kind of support at a particular point in time. Someone is just bereaved, she needs more, she has used up her leave allowance. If she has, maybe what she's allowed is a 4-week leave and she has used it up, yes, and she has just been bereaved. Now, you as a leader sensitive enough to look, okay, can we take a week off or 2 weeks off? These are things that are important. So you must as a leader be deliberate about leading with empathy. You must be deliberate as a leader with leading with self-respect. You must be deliberate as a leader in watching how you communicate, the tone of your communication to your team members. Because you are talking about attracting more people to your organization. How do you want to attract talent to your organization when you cannot even retain the existing talent in your organization? Some people do not like it when you scream at them. You need to understand all of these things. I even say something, you can correct with love, you can correct, with the intention of not demoralizing. You can also correct constructively, not in a destructive manner. So it's important that a leader will dictate the pace and shaping the culture. That is one of the roles that leadership plays in enhancing the employer brand initiative of an organization. If you're just joining us, thank you so much. We are discussing the role of leadership in enhancing a strong employer brand. We have mentioned earlier that leadership helps to build and encourage collaborations among various stakeholders. We also said that leaders help to dictate the pace and shaping the culture as one of the ways to enhance a strong employer brand. Let's move on to the third role that leadership plays. Leadership encourages appropriate employee development programs. I'll take it again. Leadership encourages appropriate employee development program. What I've seen sometimes in organization is that some people go for training's sake. Some people go for training without even consulting them. Now, every training program for an employee, for top talent in organization must be strategically done. It must ensure that it gives them that developmental path. They must give them that growth pattern. Now, I've seen employees go for trainings that will not even add value to them. It's a job of a focused leader, of strong leadership, to even discover the learning and development gaps in the organization. Now, if you have done your performance management cycle well, if you are carried out your appraisal well, you would have discovered what we call the performance improvement zone. You have seen the current training skills, the current skills of your workforce. You have seen what the expected skill set should be. You have seen that gap, and as a leader, you'll be strategic enough to be able to deploy appropriate interventions. It's important because you know that learning and development plays a crucial role in employee engagement. If we want talent to come into your organization, you want to retain talent, they want to see what is in need for them. While they are operating at the peak of performance, they also want to know that they are also adding value to themselves. So it's important for leadership, in order to enhance your brand as an employer, your employer brand, for you to be very strong, competitive enough that talent would see you as an employer of choice. They want to come to work for you. They want to come to work with you in an organization. You must ensure that encourage appropriate employee development program. This should be strategically done so that the right interventions, be it trainings, formal or informal trainings, be it coaching or mentoring, leadership development programs, you'll be able to deploy the appropriate interventions needed for that growth. This is important. And remember, it's still on enhancing your brand as an employer. Leaders at all levels must be well trained to be able to diagnose learning and development gaps of talent in an organization. You must be able to design and suggest appropriate learning and development interventions, which could be formal training and development programs, mentoring and coaching programs, leadership development programs, among others. So leadership plays a very crucial role in enhancing your brand as an employer. Imagine when you have talent in your organization and they do not even see their growth process. They do not see them add value. I've asked some people why they want to leave organization is, look, I came into organization, I have not learned anything new. I came here, I have not acquired any new skills. So it's important. That is the role of leaders. We have leadership at every level of the cadre. So you must grow your leaders. They must be cubed enough to design and suggest appropriate learning and development programs for their team members. Another strategic role expected to be played by leadership is to deploy effective communication strategies. Leaders should ensure that messages are clearly communicated to all relevant stakeholders. That is, I mentioned earlier, both your internal and external stakeholders in an organization. Messages should be communicated in a timely, transparent, and fair manner. I've always said it over and over again when I work with organizations that when you are communicating messages to your stakeholders, it must be done in a timely manner. You must do it on time. You do not procrastinate. You do it proactively, strategically, and it must be transparent. And your communication process mechanism must be seen to be fair. It's very important, and you must deploy the most effective communication channels for your messages. You look at the most effective communication channels for communicating to your internal stakeholders, the best channels that will be effective in communicating to your external stakeholders. And I keep saying that, okay, when you're even communicating as a leader, you can observe the popular 7 C's of communication, which says that your communication must be clear. You check your communication pattern. Is it concise? Your messages, are they concrete? Are they correct? Your messages that you're passing across, are they coherent? You have to ask yourself, are they consistent? Are they complete? The popular 7 C's of communication, anytime you're sending out messages out as an organization, as the leader, to your team members, to your stakeholders, you can check yourself with these 7 C's to ensure that you're sending out your messages in the most efficient manner as possible. Why do you need to do this? You need to do this because you need to help to foster trust and commitment from your workforce. And when people can trust you, when your workforce can trust you, when they know that you are not partial, when they know that your messages are clearly communicated, there's no room for mistake, there's no room for ambiguity, then this would enhance your employer brand as an organization. Again, leaders should live with and lead by your organization brand values. It's important that your actions, words dictated as a leader must reflect your organizational values. For example, if your employer brand message is on respect, the question I'm going to ask you is, how do you treat your workforce? Do they feel valued? Do you treat them with respect? Do you correct them in a constructive manner? This is important. As leaders, we must understand that it's important that when we lead, we must lead by our core values as an organization. And if your brand message is also work-life balance, my question to you is that do you make provision for your team members that need a bit of work flexibility due to peculiar circumstances? It's important. Please take note of it, because everything that we do as leaders speaks to our brand as an employer. And interestingly, I always say that there is no vacuum in life. If anything you do as a leader is not enhancing your brand position as an employer, definitely what it's going to be doing to you as an employer is that it's going to make you less attractive to top talent. So remember, your action will always have consequences, on your brand. Life is not, there's no vacuum in it. So you have to be deliberate about it. Thank you so much for staying tuned, on this episode. It has been interesting. It has been an interesting journey so far. Okay, on the last note, I'll leave us with this role. Leadership must be able to develop your top talent into managerial and leadership position. Is important because most organizations want to outlive their owners. They want to live for more than 100 decades. They want to build organizations that are transgenerational. So it's important that succession planning must be carefully planned. So I remember back then, a multinational organization I knew about developed graduate training programs, mindset training programs from those in that mid-level career. So it's important that we develop all of this, and the role of leadership to do this. And when you do this, this speaks volume to your brand as an employer of labor. Most talent will be attracted to you. They want to work with you and they want to stay with you. They are motivated to stay with you for a long time. So it's important that leaders must develop top talent into managerial and leadership position. And this helps to improve the high level of engagement among your talent. It also helps to improve the corporate culture of an organization. And all of these that you have mentioned speaks to your employer brand status as an organization. This brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you have any question, feedback, comment, can you send a mail to contact@theamogate.org. I'll take it again for your feedback, comment, questions. Can you send a mail to contact@theamogate.org. You can also visit our social media handles for your Facebook, your LinkedIn, Instagram. Check us, Amogate. Thank you so much. Hope you join us next week, same time, on Amogate Radio Communication. I remain Titulala Ogushana saying bye from here.